Hey everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to take a look at the Flux.2 Dev model, which just got released today. We have a day 0 support inside of ComfyUI. I have been playing with this model since 4 a.m. today. It is currently 7 p.m. And after testing it for so long, I can say that this is probably the best model we've got so far when it comes to text to image generation. I have a couple of examples here. We'll also talk about the use cases of this model. We'll talk about the good, the bad when it comes to using this model. There are a couple of things that you'll need to watch out when using this model. We'll talk about the licensing, and then I'm going to end it by showing you how to get this set up on your system inside of ComfyUI. All right, so here I am inside Hugging Face page. This is the Flux.2 Dev model card. If this is your first time using Hugging Face page, you will need to accept the agreement. You will need an account for that. And then we have a couple of examples. I'm not sure if these were cherry picked, but when looking at them, they are really good. I'm going to scroll through. We have a few key features. Now, if you were around when the Flux was first released, the Flux.1 was released in 2 versions. We had the Dev model and then a Schnell model. The Schnell was a distilled version of the Dev model. In this release, the 0.2 version, we only have the Dev model. Now, while the Schnell version was slightly inferior to the Dev model, the Schnell license was open source. Anyone could use that model. However, in the Flux.2 Dev version, this is under the Flux Dev non-commercial license. So while you can use the generated output for commercial purposes, you cannot use the model itself for commercial purposes. Okay, some of the key features is the latest state of art when it comes to text to image. It can do image editing. We can use a single image as a reference. We can also use multiple images as our reference when editing the image. All right, then we have the usage. I will be using the ComfyUI version to showcase this model. All right, let's take a look at a couple of examples I've generated. We'll start here with the text to image workflow. And this is pretty typical when it comes to generating images now, where we'll have a character with some kind of text. And I have to say that the prompt adherence with 0.2 is way better than 0.1. And we'll see this when we go through the workflow. Basically, we have a new text encoder that is handling the text prompt. So for these images, I'm going to have the text prompt at the top. You can read it and you can copy it. First, image composition is good. We have all the elements from the text prompt, including the text itself. And in here, you can see that I have the text in uppercase. We have a dot just after Flux, and then there is a period at the end here. It was able to copy exactly like I said. We have the uppercase, we have the Flux.2, then there's Comfy, and then we have the period at the end as well. The second point they talk about is image realism. And when you compare Flux.1 with Flux.2, the realism is on a different level. This is 0.2. Normally in Flux or some of the image generation model, you will get that doll-like character face. And this is pretty much solved. And we have natural, clear skin texture with this new model. This is without any LoRa, without doing any adjustment to the workflow. I've just drag and drop, put a prompt, and this is what we are getting. Now, if you'd like to get that old version back, like the Flux.1, you can simply add hyper realistic, which is going to give you that smooth skin texture that we were getting in the Flux.1. Of course, when it comes to text, we already talked about that, but I would like to mention here that it can also do abbreviation like this, and it does it really well. So in my prompt here, I have the capital letter for T, I have an abbreviation here. We have the F capitalized and D as well capitalized. Now, notice how the dot, the period here is outside of the quotation mark. And when it generated it, it did not include that ending period. When you compare it to this one here, the period was inside the quotation mark. Now, you can also do scene like this one. In this case, I have a bookstore, and you can see the prompt here. Now, at first glance, when you are maybe watching this, looking at this from social media, maybe it's going to be realistic for you. But if we start zooming in on certain aspect, for example, in the store itself, then we start to see the mistakes it's making. When you compare it to this version, there's not a lot to look at. We have the person, they are in focus. This eye is in focus. This one is not. We have the text, which is in focus, but this side is not in focus. That's pretty good. There's not much detail in the background. Same thing here. But when it comes to these complicated scenes where there are a lot of elements, in this particular case we have a lot of books, that is when you'll start to see the little mistakes in here. I've asked for a rainy scene. We have rain, we have the reflection as well. But if you think logically, if it was raining, these books would not be outside. They would probably be covered or maybe inside. Now, if you take a look at this shelf here, we have the front view where we are able to see the book on top, and then we have a panel down below. But then on the side view, we also have one single book for some reason there. Now, if we look at the top, we see a reflection of these lanterns. Now, this gives us the impression that there is a mirror, or not a mirror, like glass, maybe like a window. So this part here kind of makes sense. But when it comes to this section, this is where the door is supposed to be. We can see the reflection at the top, which tells us that, hey, this is probably a glass door, but then we don't have any handle. If you look at this section here, it's not correct at all. So it gives us the impression that there's no door. You can pretty much enter without opening the door, but then we have the reflection at the top, and that's kind of the little mistakes that you'll get. Obviously, the books does not make any sense. If this was a proper bookstore, these books would not be arranged like this. Now, if we take a look at the top part, there are wires somehow at the top, and they don't make any sense. They don't follow any kind of order. Same thing here, where the lanterns are partly on wires, partly they are directly screwed to the roof itself. So again, it does not make any sense when you look at it from that perspective. However, the reflections there is really nice, and if you don't pay attention to these small details, it's a really good shot. Now let's take a look at this one here. This is an anime style, and again, I did not cherry pick any of these images. This is the first image I got when using the prompt. While it generated all the elements from the prompt, all of that is rendered in the image. It's not correct, and you only start to see that when we zoom in. Now, before we go any further here, I would like to mention that all of these images, they are 1440p, and for the Flux.2, we can generate images up to 4 megapixel. That's going to be 4 million pixel in an image. And if we were to check this resolutions here, so this image that I was mentioning here, all of these images actually, they are the exact same size. We have 2560. You basically multiply this by the height. We have 3.6 million pixel. That is 3.6 megapixel in this image. So that's quite high, a high resolution. You can see the size here, almost 4 megabyte, which is what is the maximum size that you can do with Flux. So these are high quality images. Still, when you zoom in on the characters, you can see that there are certain things which are not correct. In this specific case, the anime girl character here is missing a leg. If we take a look at the top part here, we can see that the forearm that is visible here is bent in the incorrect direction here. It's going this way, where it should not be possible for a person's shoulder to bend that way. Now, when we take a look at the face as well, and even when you zoom in, you can see that there's not a lot of detail in the face. If you zoom out at 100%, this is what you're going to look, and maybe it looks okay if we ignore the obvious mistake, like I'm referring to the face here. But once you start zooming in, it's not enough detail in my opinion. This close-up shot gives you good detail. When you zoom in, you can see the skin texture, you can see the eye, and these are very well done. But the moment the character is in full body shot, then we start to lose detail. Now there's also this ornament here, which is supposed to be in the hair, and that was incorrectly rendered. However, all the other elements that I asked in my prompt was generated correctly. This shows us another type of mistake that I think this model has difficulty when it comes to rendering. Now, once again, at first glance, really good image. If we take a look at the prompt here, we have a mountain temple above the clouds. Okay, we have the mountain, the above the clouds, golden hour. So we have this yellowish color. We have the intricate stone carving and the cinematic lighting. All of that is present. That is perfect. When we start to look at the details now, we'll notice that this side and that side of the temple is meant to be symmetrical. So if you have not seen any temple before, normally when you have temples and you have these carvings, the statue which are outside, they are mainly like guardians. So if you have one statue on the left side, you will have another one on the right side, just to balance things out. And in this specific case, if we were to take this red line here as the middle point, maybe let's just do blue. So this is supposed to be the middle point. If we have a statue here, we'll have another one here. And if we have some kind of carvings or design in here, we'll also have it on the other side. It's supposed to be symmetrical. And this is where I think the model fails. It's not able to generate these symmetrical things exactly the way it's supposed to be. While we have this stone here, we can see that we have another one here. If we pay close attention, we'll see that they are not exactly the same. The same thing here for the stairs going towards that stone. If we take a look at the top section, we can see again, we don't have that symmetry, even though it's meant to be symmetrical. And again, to illustrate that point, I have another example here. This one is meant to give you that fashion photo shoot type of photography. Again, the environment is really well rendered. The character is in focus. We have all the elements from the prompt showcasing there. But once we start to zoom in, let's say we zoom in on this section, we can see that the shoe here is really badly rendered. Now, if we take a look at these bracelets here, we can see that we have 1, 2, and 3, but on this side we are missing 1. Maybe this is some kind of fashion trend, but if we zoom in on the earrings here, now there's no argument here. If you are using earring on one side, you'll probably have the same type of earring on the other side. There's no point in having two different type of earrings. So if we take a look at this and this, we can clearly see that they are different. So these items, these elements which are meant to be symmetrical in real life is not being rendered correctly by this model. Now, everything else, I would have to say it's a really good generation. Now, keep in mind that I'm being really harsh here because I want to give you the real life scenarios. If you were to use this model in production to generate some production type images that would go into magazines or into social media, then you should be aware of the little mistakes. And that is why I'm going into so much detail into these little mistakes that the model is making. Now, we'll take a look at two more of these examples when it comes to realism. Here is one. I'm asking for a man in a gorilla suit. This is perfect. We have the gorilla here. We have the DJ environment. Now, I did not mention anything about the background or the people in there. And because I did not mention anything, we start to see mistakes in the background. Some of these people, they don't even have a head. When you take a look from this side, we have this person here. The hand is, well, completely messed up. We have this person. Clearly, they are missing something from the head. Maybe it was meant to have like a cap, but we just have one section of that cap rendered. The rest is missing. And if we go into this section here, the composition itself does not make quite sense. Now, I'm not a DJ myself, but when you look at the equipments here, clearly something is wrong there. So yes, while I was able to get all the elements that I asked in the generated image is just not correct visually when we think of it in how it's supposed to be in real life. I have one more example, and this one I wanted to see if we can get environmental effect in there to be like realism. I'm asking for real flames. If I zoom in here, this is pretty much real frame. But when we take a look at this part, that's when that illusion, that realism illusion goes away. So this is clearly a dead giveaway that it is fake. Now, one thing I noticed here, I asked for art in a dumpster on fire, and probably because I said art and then dumpster, maybe there's some kind of token in there that combines art and dumpster. I'm not sure, but it painted the dumpster as well. There was no need for the dumpster to have painting on them. That was not my intention. It's probably because I did not describe the dumpster itself in my prompt that it just fill in the blank, right? So that is something to keep in mind. When you don't describe something, it may take certain elements from your prompt and just fill in that blank. All right, let's talk about single image reference. And when we talk about image reference here, we are talking about editing the image, but not necessarily keeping the same image. So what I mean by this is my single image that I'm passing as a reference. This is basically from Dragon Ball Z, and the character is Goku. Now, I did not mention the name here in case the model was trained on images of Goku. So I said turn this anime character into a realistic portrait, and then we keep the same clothes, hairstyle, and natural skin and so on. You can see here, this is well done. The only thing that I would point out as a mistake here, like take some marks off, would be the eyes. Anime characters tend to have big eyes, and I think it kept that big eye in there. If it was a little bit small, I would pass this as a realistic person, maybe like somebody cosplaying Goku. The hair is well done, the skin texture, the face, and the clothes are super well done. Even the logo here, I don't speak Chinese or Japanese. I'm not sure what this means, but I can see that we have a line here. Then we have 1, 2, and 3. And if we take a look here, we have a line here, and then we have 1, 2, and then we have part of that third line here. So I think it even kept the logo too. Keep in mind that this image was not passed as a latent to the case sampler. All right, so we are still using an empty latent to generate this image. We're just converting the image here, and it's using this one as a reference. And I'm pointing this out because there are things that you can do when we take advantage of this. Here's an example. We have a dog, and I'm asking to do the opposite of the previous example. This time we are going from a real photo to an anime illustration, and I think it did a perfect job here. When it comes to these anime style, there's less detail, so less chances of mistake. Now, if you take a look at the generated image on the left side, we can see that the dog kept the exact pose of our original image here. In this image here, we have the dog where one of the leg is in front, and we can see the same here replicated. We see the same pattern. The colors are slightly different, and that's probably because I said Studio Ghibli and I said soft shading. So that could be because of the prompt itself. However, the pose is exactly the same. We have the tail, we have the ears, the mouth is slightly open, and that is exactly the same. Now, even the cupboard at the back, you can see here, these are generated correctly. We have the patterns in the tile. There's a wall here that as well was kept. Just the style of it was changed to an anime illustration. Okay, so here's an example of using the text to image workflow to generate an image and then pass that image over to the editing section of the workflow. So this is the image that I generated earlier, the Bookstore. And I'm simply asking it to transform the scene into a cyberpunk settings. And there's nothing for me to point out as clear mistake. It did exactly what I asked it to do. The only thing that I would like to point out here is all the signs that it generated, they are all in Chinese. And I'm thinking this is probably because of the data set that we'll use in order to train this model. So that may be something that you should be aware of when using this model. Now, of course, we can always mention that the sign should be in English or French and see how the model reacts. That could be something that you can try later on. Let's talk about the multi-image reference. And here's an example. I have the same character from before. So this is the realistic version of Goku. And then I have a 3-piece suit in here. The prompt is put these clothes on the man, place the man inside a movie theater, and then we match the fabric and texture exactly. Now at first glance, if I zoom out a little bit, we can see we have all the elements. We have Goku here in a movie theater wearing the 2-piece that we have at the top. Obviously, we don't see the bottom section, and that is because of the aspect ratio. So this is not a mistake on the model side. Now, what I would like to point out as the mistake, and this is referring to me explaining the part where this is just a reference and not image to image. If we take a look at the face here, we can say that this is not the exact same person. It's close. It's taking element from this input image, but it's not the exact same person. Now, this generated image here, we can see that we have beard. This one we don't, but mainly it's the shape of the face itself. This one has a smaller, tighter jaws. If we were to draw a line like this, maybe, and then if we were to draw a line like this, we'll see that this one is bigger compared to this version here. Now, everything else was pretty perfect. It kept this shirt here from the original reference image, but that's pretty much it. And this white line that we have here is coming from the reference image as well. So the only mistake that I would point out is that the person, if you pay close attention, does not look exactly like the reference image. So I did a second example. In this second example, I said clearly, put the face from image 1 onto the person from image 2. And this is image 1, and this bottom one is the image 2. And this one failed completely. So yeah, face swapping. Maybe this model cannot do face swapping like the Qwen image edit 2509, and it's possible that these two images are not compatible at all, and that is why I got such a bad result. But we are just doing one example for each without any cherry picking here. This is the result I got. So maybe I'll have to do some more testing on this face swapping ability of this model. Now next, let's quickly go through some of the use cases of this model. So aside from all of this, you can also render long sentences. So in this case, I would give this image a 95% accuracy. There's only 2 things which are wrong that I did not mention in my prompt. And the first one is this. I said flux.2. Instead of 0.2, it gave me a -2. And the second one is the smiley face here. We should not have this open round bracket on the left side here. Now, other than that, it generated everything perfectly. Now, if we take a look at some more text for this specific image, I wanted to see if we can do some extreme resolution. And I chose to go with a banner. This is the size, the resolution that I entered, and it was able to generate all the elements within this banner resolution, including the text. There's no error when it rendered the text. Everything is perfect here. Even this dot that is in the middle was in my prompt. So I said AI model dot ComfyUI workflows. It created this this masterpiece, I would say. Now it's not perfect, and I don't have any complaint when it comes to the text rendering part. Here we have text on this side, we have text in the sign. It's perfect, but I think sometimes when you ask for too much, it tends to have some errors when generating the images. So this here, we are supposed to have the woman leg, but we don't have a clear definition of where the leg is. So we can see that we have the shadow here, but it's not fully generated. It's supposed to be like this, right? But this section here, this part is missing, which gives you this this weird part here at the bottom. Now, once again, when it comes to the symmetry, so that is, I think it's going to come out every time. We can see that the perspective is like this. So this side here should be here instead. That's one thing, like the symmetry is completely wrong here. But the line here is not exactly like this line. So the design here on the chair does not match on this side. And maybe you can argue that these are just like intricate detail, nobody's going to pay attention. But when you think about it, when somebody is making a chair and that chair has some detail in it, those detail have a certain sense. They have certain meaning in there, and it's trying its hardest to generate the symmetry. So we can see we have some kind of flower. The flower is there. We have this section here, and it's trying its best to generate it there, but it's not exactly the same. Even this top part here, it's supposed to be straight, but it's clearly not straight. We can see the arc is not well formed, and this section is shifted a little bit on this side. Keeping on to the text here, let's talk about these dashboard and chart that we can do. So I think we got a little bit too much detail in this one. It was able to type in the text that I gave to the prompt. So I have weekly fitness summary as my text. It was able to do that. This one I did not ask, but it rendered it perfectly. Everything else though is gibberish. So I think we can use this as an inspiration when making or trying to get some idea. But out of the box, I don't think we can just generate a picture and then post it online to use it in production. It will require some work. Now let's talk about the editing part of it. And in reference to this image here, so I'm editing this image, and this first edit, I asked to remove the sign, so this sign here, and then I changed the pose of the character. It was able to do it. It's the same person. We have the peace sign I asked for. I have no complaint in this one. Now the second one, once again, I have no complaint. Basically, I wanted the woman to wear clothes which was previously splashed with paint. So if the clothes were previously splashed with paint, the paint would be dried up and it should not spill on the other element, which we can see here. It's only the cloth which has the paint on it. Now we can even see the shadow of the arm and hand on the new cloth. Okay, so here's a funny output I got. What I wanted to do was to remove the character from the picture and then fill in the space. And it did exactly what I asked it to do. It removed the woman, but it kept the sign. What I realized is that the text encode, this new text encode model, is too literal when it comes to working with the text prompt. Whatever you put in the text prompt is what you're going to get. It's not like ChatGPT where you can give a brief description of what you want and it's going to infer that, okay, this is what you want, so I'm going to answer everything. This one, no. In this example, when I said remove the woman, it removed the woman. It kept the panel, so it looks like the panel is floating here, but otherwise it filled in everything perfectly. Now I'm guessing if I were to mention in my prompt to remove the sign, it would probably remove the sign as well. Or we can take this image back into the editing workflow and then ask it to remove the sign as a second pass. That's also possible. Now, the one issue I have when it comes to text, and I noticed this when doing product display or mockup, and that is this example here. So right now I wanted to have a cap. That is the product. We have clean background. The lighting is really good. The product is displayed real well. I wanted to have the channel name on the cap. It's there, Yes, but if we were to think how this would be in real life, the text should probably be wrapped up around the cap and not just like a copy paste, put it on the top. There's no curvature to the text. Now, this could be a problem with the text prompt, but I noticed this when I tried to get the logo onto the shirt. And when you look at it back far, okay, we have the logo. It's on the shirt. It's at that exact same position I wanted it to, but it doesn't look correct. And it's mainly because in the shirt here, we have a crease. This crease should have been transferred to the logo. And what I mean by this is it's basically displacement. If you've done Photoshop editing, there's a technique where you can use an underlying layer as a displacement map to match the one with the logo, which is not happening in this case. It's basically like somebody cut out the logo and pasted it there. That is what we are getting. It should really fold and then go back up like this. But the letter is just straight. The line for the A is just straight. While it's able to generate these tags really well, it was able to generate here, no mistake. By the way, in all of the generation I've done, the only time I noticed that there were mistakes is when I generated the long text, the long sentence here. And that also was a missing period here and then an extra round bracket here. So when it comes to text rendering, it is really good. When it comes to realism, close-up portrait are done really well. If we try to zoom out a little bit where the character is in full shot, then we start to see some mistakes like this one here. Now we'll have to do a direct comparison when it comes to the editing section. Right now, we can edit using a single image. We can use multiple images, up to 10 images, compared to Quen, where we can only do 3 images with the current workflow. The extended workflow can do 4 images. So that is something that we'll have to take a look at. That's all the use cases that was documented. I tried to do face swapping, which did not work. So let me show you how to install this and get it up and running on your local machine. Okay, so first thing that you will have to do is to update your ComfyUI. And I'm going to recommend updating from the folder directly by going into update and then doing update ComfyUI.bat here. Now you can also try updating from the manager by clicking on update ComfyUI from here. If it does not work, then you can always go back and update from here. If you have a standalone version, like a manual installation, then you can do git pull in your ComfyUI folder in here. So just open this folder in your terminal and do git pull to get the latest changes. Next, once updated, go inside the templates folder. And at the time of recording, we have these 3 workflows that are the newest workflow. If you're watching from the future, you can go to the search bar here and type in Flux.2. You'll get these results. The Flux.2 Pro requires credits in order to use. The Flux.2 Dev is your text to image. You can do image editing and you can go up to 4 megapixel when it comes to generating images. Then we have the product mockup. I'm going to load the Flux.2 Dev. By the way, you can also do product mockup or product design in this Flux.2 Dev version. Now you will get 3 different models that you'll need to download here. And I deleted this just to show you that they are big models that you will need to download. The text encode itself is 33 gigabyte. The Flux.2 Dev FP8 is 35 gigabyte. The VA is, I think it's 340 megabyte. And you just need to place them in here. It's very easy. If you have any difficulty, let me know in the comments down below. Once you have your models, do text to image. We'll go into this reference images section and click on this middle icon here. When you see the line go up, it means we are bypassing this section. So this here, we are activating it. This, it's bypassed. We'll do just text to image. You can go at the top, put your prompt in here, and then go into image size here. If you have the resources, you can go to 1440p. That's going to be closest to the 4 megapixel that this model support. Now, to do the image reference, we'll activate this section first. So click on this icon. Right now we have two images that you can use. This is just an example. You can start by doing single image reference. Press and hold down Control and drag over the second column. Select everything here. Then click on this icon to bypass. This will become a single image reference workflow. Put in your reference image in here, type in your prop here, and then you can work with your image resolution. Now, even though we are using an input image, notice how our empty Flux.2 latent is still here. So we'll still be using an empty latent that we are passing to the key sampler. Okay, so this is only for reference. Earlier, I mentioned that you can do up to 10 multiple images as your reference. So to do this, you can activate everything. Once again, we'll highlight the second section. Now, this time we'll go into these three dots, more option, and then select copy. Go to a blank space, press Ctrl V to paste, and you should have a copy of everything here. Now, next, make some space and expand the VAE encode. You can click on this dot icon here, it will expand it. And we need to connect the VAE input, and you will get the VAE from the top here. Okay, so just get the VAE and connect it down below. Now, the next part will be to find the last reference latent that you have. In this specific case, because I duplicated it only once here, the last reference latent is this second one here. So I have it here, reference latent. I will take the conditioning and then send that conditioning to the reference latent for that duplicate one. And finally, this output that I have here, I will send this output to the basic guider at the top like this. And you can keep repeating this process. You can just copy this, right? And then paste it multiple times to get your 10 reference image like that. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'm going to do a couple of tests. I will also be doing some more videos on this, some direct comparison between the previous version, this version, the Kriya version, there's the Quen as well. That's going to take some time. I spent the entire day just testing these out. Simple matrix here. For me, I have a 12 gigabyte VRAM card and everything else is basically getting offloaded. It takes 5 minutes for one image to generate, and that is with the model loading time included. Just generating the image, just the inference steps here, so 20 steps, takes around 2.5 minutes to generate. Now, when I add a reference image, and if the size is too high, it takes about 15 minutes to generate. So editing the image is about 15 minutes for me on a 12 gigabyte card, and generating from scratch text to image is about 5 minutes, including loading of the models. That's what we are looking at. So that is it. If you'd like to watch those videos that are going to come in the future, you may want to subscribe if you have not. Thanks for watching until the very end. If you find this video helpful, I'll appreciate a like. Take care. Have a nice day. I will see you next time.